also defended an NBC reporter who was criticized for noting that Fetterman had trouble understanding her small talk before her interview with him began. Basically, I thought the coverage of Fetterman was being determined by empathy alone, not objectivity, when the facts demanded both. So now comes the news that the junior senator from Pennsylvania admitted himself to Walter Reed National Military Medical Center on Wednesday night for treatment of clinical depression. Fetterman's office released a statement saying, while John has experienced depression off and on throughout his life, it only became severe in recent weeks. He's receiving treatment on a voluntary basis. After examining John, the doctors at Walter Reed told us that John is getting the care he needs and will soon be back to himself. This is Fetterman's second hospital stay in as many weeks. He was recently admitted to George Washington University Hospital after feeling lightheaded at a retreat for Democratic senators. Thankfully, tests ruled out a second stroke. The more recent hospitalization is Fetterman's first public acknowledgement of a mental health issue. His wife tweeted this: after what he's been through in the past year, there's probably no one who wanted to talk about his own health less than John. I'm so proud of him for asking for help and getting the care he needs. The New York Times provided this useful insight that after his stroke, Fetterman soon jumped back into campaigning into the tight Senate race, and now, quote, the possibility that he may have missed out on a crucial recovery period has become a source of pain and frustration for Mr. Fetterman and people close to him who fear that he may suffer long-term and potentially permanent repercussions. His schedule as a freshman senator has meant that he's continued to push himself in ways that people close to him worry are detrimental. A senior aide told NBC News that Fetterman is likely to have a few weeks of inpatient care, and the doctors are trying different medications and dosages. And I say, more power to him. We need mental health role models right now, and here's hoping that he fills that bill. Consider this. Fetterman's hospital admission came the same week as the release of a CDC report documenting a mental health crisis among American adolescents, particularly our girls. They surveyed more than 17,000 teenagers across all 50 states and the District of Columbia. In 2021, the percentage of high school students who experienced persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness was 42%. That's up from 28% a decade earlier. And when you break it down by gender, 57% female, 29% male. In 2011, the share of high school students who seriously considered attempting suicide was 16%. In 2021, 22%. Just stop and contemplate that. More than 1 in 5 American teens has seriously considered attempting suicide. And among girls, the number is 30%. And the numbers of depression and suicidal thoughts are even higher in the LGBTQ plus community. And these issues are not the sort that anyone relishes discussing. Because the fact is, society doesn't treat brain and physical health the same. There remains a stigma attached to the former, which causes those afflicted too often to remain in the shadows. Schools, workplaces, healthcare plans, and American society in general still don't treat those with mental illness the same as those with a physical affliction. Think about it. God forbid someone in your orbit gets cancer. People rush to raise GoFundMe money, bake cakes, and help take care of their children. But if the affliction is anxiety or depression, many will shun even those they know, and that's if the illness is made public at all. Insurance coverage is not often equitable. Many mental health providers refuse the paperwork of participation, leaving people in need to scramble for scarce treatment resources. Too many go untreated. Maybe John Fetterman can change that. Perhaps he can become the face of a mental health epidemic from which we are all 1 degree of separation. 50 years ago, Senator Thomas Eagleton was dropped from the Democratic ticket headed by Senator George McGovern after it was revealed that Eagleton had been hospitalized for depression, which included electroshock therapy. That would never have happened if Eagleton had suffered a physical ailment. Fetterman is so high profile in part due to the attention already given to his stroke and his flipping Pennsylvania to give the Dems their slim majority, that perhaps he will finally elevate awareness in a watershed way and help our culture rethink the way that we treat brain health. Dr. Nasir Ghami is a psychiatrist on staff at Tufts University and the Harvard Medical School. He wrote a book that stands out. A First-Rate Madness is the title. And drawing on medical records of Abraham Lincoln, John F. Kennedy, and Winston Churchill, among others, Dr. Gami makes the case that some of our best leaders have battled mental illness. In fact, Gami argues that the best crisis leaders are either mentally ill or mentally abnormal. The worst crisis leaders are often those who are mentally healthy.
People who have mild manic symptoms, mania being the idea is that you're sped up in your thinking, movement, and feeling. People with mild manic symptoms are more creative and more resilient to stress than normal, mentally healthy people. And so these four traits of creativity, resilience, empathy, and realism, which occur in manic depressive illness and depression and bipolar illness, are seen in some of our best crisis leaders, Churchill, Lincoln, and others, who had these conditions, had these traits as part of their psychological makeup, and also showed those traits as benefits of their leadership in times of crisis, I should say. Not always, but in times of crisis when you need them the most.
But this isn't just about public figures.